Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to Dance December, where we are going to close out the month. We are actually December 31st. We're pushing it right to the very end, right into the new year. We are going to listen to Sophie's 2017 record, Oil of Every Pearl's Uninsides. Now somehow, despite being a hyperpop fan and loving 100 gecs and Charlie XCX and Dorian Electra as well, big shout out to Dorian, I've never checked out Sophie's work. I'm not sure how that happened. It's a severe blind spot of mine because I have heard, very brief snippets of Ponyboy, but other than that, everything about this album and Sophie themselves is still pretty much a mystery to me. So I'm very much excited to hear what they did in the hyperpop field. I know they are a massive influence on Dorian, on Charlie, on 100 gecs, and really just a huge influence on, the music scene, underground, mainstream as a whole, to be quite honest with you. So let's get into it. We got 9 tracks, 39 minutes. Let's see if this proves my theory that 39-minute albums are typically near perfect, if not perfect already, because there are very few albums I've heard that hit the 39-minute mark right on and aren't supremely beautiful. But maybe that concept, that theory, will be saved for another day. Let's get into It's Okay to Cry, kicking it off, the opening track. I'm familiar with Sophie's very delicate nature, while still capable of being quite bombastic. Which, I just want to say rest in peace to Sophie as well. Very sad and unfortunate accident that happened to Sophie, and obviously far too young. So rest in peace. Let's keep it going. Let's pay our respects by listening to their biggest work.
Wish I could have said this. It's okay to cry.
I love the really dramatic drops after these pulling back moments. It's like a grand, smoky reveal. This is gorgeous. Such a luscious production. Just the right amount of reverb too on those vocals. It fades away into the background. Oh my god. Oh, I can't even show it. I've got goosebumps. This drop, massive wall of sound. What a finale of a track. Finale of the end of a track, I should say. Not even, we're kicking things off. Incredible. Let's go to Ponyboy. It's Okay to Cry was so sweet, so beautiful, so sweeping, and that final explosion at the end, getting quite noisy, really approaching noise pop in a way. Massive kind of opener. Here's Ponyboy though. I've heard bits of this. The bounciness of this one really reminded me of Dylan Brady. Not sure if he's on this one. Oh, incredible effects on this one. Also, getting quite sexual here. Kind of reminds me of Dorian Electra's "Give Great Thanks." Possibly their best track, by the way. Quite dominating. Man, this one's really aggressive in its sound. I love it. Love the distorted vocals, both high-pitched and low-pitched. Great contrast here. And what a wacky, kind of funny song, but embracing sexuality. Oh. So much going on. What a dynamic track. Holy cow. These vocals, too. Kind of a slight, kind of soulful touch on them. A little R&B in a way. Oh my god. A little tension there. Perfect track. Perfect track. Such a melding of ideas and genres. I love those soulful R&B backup vocals. Wow. R&B, soul, funk, noise, pop, hyper pop. What else? Just a huge melding of genres on this track alone. 3 minutes, and I feel like we had decades worth of ideas of genres boiled into one. This thing is insane. Super experimental, and this might be the best track we heard all month of Dance December. That might be a hot take, but that was crazy. Sophie. What the hell? Face Shopping. Let's keep it going. This album is crazy already. We're only 2 tracks in.
My face is the real shop front. My shop is the fake side front.
This is Sophie singing here.
I'm
would
real
seem.
when I shop my face.
Unless it's the seal. Oh.
My face is the front of shop. My face is the real shop front.
I don't know how they do it. This so hard hitting, so aggressive, yet so sweet at the same time, so weirdly melodic.
My shop is the fake side front.
Really bold. Like
I'm real when I shop my face.
nobody in the right mind would think to do these things. Love that muffled sort of mix. creeping around. You know it's gonna hit you. It's rising up. Where did it go? What is going on? There's no use in trying to predict any track here. I was expecting a massive drop with the way that muffled mix was sliding in, and instead, we have essentially entered a whole new track. It's still the same song. Who does this? Oh my god, and it's so beautiful. It's so ascending. Even some of the vocals here, some of the words, the phrasing, is performed through the production musically. It doesn't even sound like a clear vocal. It's almost like the sounds are mimicking the words. Like, am I crazy? Am I losing my mind here? Another perfect track. Loved how unpredictable this whole thing is. And that track. Completely cutting off from that drop in a way that was rewarding, surprisingly. Is It Cold in the Water? Is this track here. Honestly, they were beautiful. Those vocals, so layered, so angelic. So very delicate. Kind of like a European sort of EDM track in a way, this rising synth. This one's nice. It's like a nice transitional track almost. It's gradual, much more dialed back from what we've heard. And a supreme focus on vocals, really, and just a rising synth. To continue that ethereal ascension. Beautiful. That's a gorgeous, nice track just to bring things down in a sense. Even though it had such a rising, continually rising track, it was still a nice come down after the intensity of the genre bending ways that we've heard so far of the genre of the album. Just a nice little bridge in a sense. Here's Infatuation. I like the almost like ASMR effects we get on this. Whoa. Love the twisting of the vocals too. It's like almost kind of removing the concept of the individual artist, in a sense for trading in the concept of an invisible artist. It feels like there is this idea that it's a agreed non-personality that adds a relatability, as alien as it may seem. Ooh. A lot of just little effects here, kind of bouncing off each other. Oh. This one kind of similar to the last in the kind of rising build-up, but even more ethereal, even more layered in its production. Also, the vocals, I love the very differing pitches and perspectives and deliveries. Oh, that overriding synth or guitar or whatever the heck that is, almost feeling like a wailing, a screaming vocal. Maybe it is a vocal, I don't know, with some intense manipulation. Insane. Infatuation, beautifully layered, great dynamic track. Love the crushed out vocals. It sounded like towards the end, and also very heavenly. The other vocals were really great contrasts of vocals throughout this LP. Here's Not Okay. This one's quick, a minute and 48. Quite spacey. Leans in. Fades out. Never mind. This was quite playful in production. This one like a practice and playing with your music. It almost feels nonsensical. Remind me of some of the stuff off of 100 Gex debut LP. Kind of like Gek, where it's almost like or I need help immediately, you know? A mishmash of ideas. Let's go into Pretending. Which, is this one just purely instrumental, I wonder? No lyrics. If it's just instrumental, I guess we'll let this one completely overtake and ride over me. I'm getting Godspeed to You Black Emperor tones here. It's so apocalyptic. one's like very ambient, honestly. Shout out Brian Eno here. Got a Sophie's own version of ambience. I really like this one. Like such an incredibly ambient yet buried mix there that does feel surprisingly rich and dynamic. It's almost just like been smothered out. Oh wow. It's like we're entering heaven or passing on to the afterlife. This reminds me of Bowen's Berlin trilogy, the ambient tracks off of Heroes, with how like eerie and cult-like they are. Oh my god. It's like we're, I don't know, entering a new world. Oh my god. What is this, a xenomorph from Alien? Beautiful track. Honestly, feels like we entered a new world. We were like reborn into some alien realm, because man, that opening section at the end there really did feel like we entered something that was far from human. Here's Immaterial, the most popular track here, surprisingly, 36 million. Amping it back up. Oh. Super bouncy mix. That's the beauty of it. Who's singing here? Cecil Believe is the name of the musician here. Great vocal. Very clean, squeaky clean in hyperpop fashion. Very like 2000s core as well. Ooh, that mix drowning out.
I was just a lonely girl.
Oh. Sophie here, completely twisting up the vocals in a way that's playful, weird, unique. Definitely one of the most, I would say, accessible, yet still has that hyperpop focus I can see why this is the most popular. You know, a Pony Boy track, certainly not going to be pulling everyone's ear, but something like this is a little bit more digestible, I think, to most people. You know, it's got a bit of a Charlie XCX kind of feel to it. Let's keep it going. Let's go into this final track here. A 9-minute epic. Whole New World. Which, from what I've read, was the working title of this LP. Certainly would have been fitting, given how weird this realm is. Possessed by the xenomorph herself. I love it though. Raspy, bizarre, otherworldly, and quite metal-esque. Such a incredible melding of genres on this LP. Oh my god. Assaulting my ears. And I love it. Genuinely might be one of the most inventive LPs I've ever heard, at least of the modern age. People are going to look back at this 20, 30 years from now, and they're still going to be talking about how forward-thinking it is. 100%. It is. There's nothing like this right now. Nothing. At least done this well, executed this clearly. Oh, I love how weirdly catchy this is. And like a siren going on too in the background. Also reminds me, a weird comparison, reminds me of Brian Eno's 2 debut solo rock albums. Not in sound necessarily, but in execution of the very subtle kind of bringing in of different sounds and ideas, ever so solidly, ever so carefully that you don't even notice the effects. Like that main sort of siren that we're hearing, that swirling siren, it slid into the mix in a way that was damn near invisible. And then it catches you off guard, and suddenly you're like, when did that come in? It's that kind of idea that I feel like reminds me of Brian Eno and honestly just other creative geniuses in general who work in a pure subtle mix. And now like it's all focused. I feel like we're on a spaceship and we're ringing out. just vibing. No use trying to understand it. Oh my god, it's like a continual breakdown. Like, nothing feels repeating in a sense. Everything feels carefully placed. Everything feels purely instinctual. Almost like Sophie themselves, when creating this record, understood entirely the direction and vision they had. Like, so confident and sure of themselves that it's quite impressive. And so futuristic, like completely out of this world. Wow. Very incredibly ethereal. Like, are we in heaven with this track? Have we ascended the clouds? Ambient, poppy, ethereal, experimental, refined. Wow, what a closer. And then this sounded like a futuristic kind of like motorbike or something. Like, I feel like we have entered. That's it for that whole album. I feel like we entered a futuristic city, a skyline in a sense, with the way that those whirling bikes at the end, and that, oh my god, that ascension, and that whole second half, pretend world, I would imagine, is that portion of the track. Wow. I'm gonna need a second with this one. As we close out the year, this is going to be the final record that I'm reacting to on this channel for the monthly genre series I'm doing. I'm not going away. I'm still keeping the videos coming. If you're following and you're subscribed to my channel, you know, I'll have you know this isn't obviously the end of my channel. But as we enter the new year, entering 2025, it feels like a future. It feels like a very futuristic title for a year, 2025. It feels kind of mind-boggling in a sense. You know, it does feel like, to me, in my lifetime, the most futuristic title for a year, right? And this album kind of matches that ethos as we enter the new year, because this is hands down the most evolved and futuristic record I've heard this year, and perhaps ever. I don't know if I've ever heard anything this forward-thinking and groundbreaking in a way that I feel like is only going to age like a fine wine in 20, 30, 40 years from now. Still going to be talking about it. Records like this come once every couple decades, perhaps, honestly. Maybe every few decades. I feel like when thinking about records like this, I think, the Velvet Underground, with how groundbreaking and forward-thinking they were. And Sophie here is doing something, not just to dance music, but music production and the concept of what music can be in a way that feels, again, super unheard of. Oil of Every Pearl's on Insides. Closing out the year, closing out Dance December, might genuinely be the most perfect record, the most perfect execution of an idea that I feel like we have seen on the channel so far. It might be the most perfect record on a first listen that I've heard in quite some time. And I've heard tons of albums this year that I would say are either a perfect 10 or near a 10. And Oil of Every Pearl's on the Insides, on a first listen, 100% I think fits the bill. I think will be eventually seen in most people's eyes when looking back at the history of music as a perfect record, a necessary record, a 10 out of 10 record, whatever you want to label it. It's going to be seen as one of the most influential records. Incredibly futuristic, unique, powerful, a blending of genres in a way that very few artists can do, and nailing it perfectly. Gone too soon, incredibly tragic, but honestly bums me out even more the more I think about the fact that Sophie passed away they did so young, so early, and so unfortunately, because this is the work of a pure, unbridled creative genius. There's nothing I could say. Ponyboy, Face Shopping, It's Okay to Cry, I think kick things off incredibly well, and sets up a tone that sends you in the deep end and then kind of reels you back ever so slightly with the following tracks before you enter what feels like an entirely, like this track suggests, new world. What a way to end the month. Sophie, rest in peace. I think with this record alone, you did more than enough for music at large. But that does it for today's video. If you liked the video, please hit like and subscribe to follow along in listening to more records alongside myself. Like I said, we are done with the monthly genre series that I've been doing. Every single month, we have covered a different genre. I might address some of this in a future video. I might do a larger video kind of looking back at the months. But as for reactions for these genre monthly series, that's it. That doesn't mean I'm done with music reactions, so please subscribe if you're not already, and stick around because I have some big ideas planned, hopefully, to execute throughout 2025, and I'm very excited to hear a lot more music from some classic musicians as well as some brand new albums on the way, because that is the goal for 2025, is a mix of the old and the new, hopefully in a different fashion than we've done this year. But I will, of course, address that in an update video within the next week or so. So stick around if that sounds interesting to you. And to end this, I'll say Happy New Year. My name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching. And as always, I'm signing off.